The Game Week podcast, powered by Keros.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Game Week podcast, powered by Keros, the number one solution for maximizing preparation and performance in elite sport. I'm your host, Andrew Trimble. Every episode we'll be taking a deep dive behind the scenes of the elite sports world as we chat with key stakeholders in high-performance environments about their stories and how they manage their game week. Okay, Erin currently plays for Reading in the Women's Super League, but she has had a truly international journey to get there, starting her career back in her native New Zealand. She's since played in the NWSL in the USA and spent 4 years in France playing at Grenoble and Bordeaux before she made the move to England. Erin's also represented the New Zealand team 61 times, including 3 World Cups and 1 Olympic Games. And in January, Erin, you were voted and included in the Women's Team of the Decade. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's awesome to be here.
It's quite a lot. I always find whenever we've got a guest with that many things to get through, it's a mouthful. So it's frustrating having someone so successful with so much going on, Erin. But congratulations on an incredible career so far.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. Let's start very simply. Why do you do what you do?
For me, obviously, I love the game of football. I've played it ever since I was a kid, and my brothers played and my dad played as well. And for me, I just love the challenge of trying to be the best goalkeeper I can be. And aside from that, I just think that football has opened up so many opportunities for me. I've travelled the world with the national team. I've made some amazing friends, and I've just had an incredible journey. So it's just been an amazing experience overall.
Yeah, so your brothers played, your dad played. You're a football family. Is that unique in New Zealand?
Yeah, we're a very rugby-orientated country, so it's not too unique as football is quite big everywhere. But yeah, we're definitely not as many people play football as rugby. Okay,
so a lot of New Zealanders travel quite a bit, and you're obviously no exception. Your journey from New Zealand to the US, then to France, and then at the minute in the UK and Reading. How's that journey been? Have there been some challenges along the way or some ups and downs? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for me, it's been a really eye-opening experience. I've got to experience a lot of different cultures. I was in France for 4 years and managed to pick up a little bit of the language, which is something I never thought that I'd be doing when I was taking French in high school. So that was pretty cool. And also I just was, I got to see the different ways that different countries played the game, which was cool to see as well. And it's definitely been a challenging journey. There's been a lot of ups and downs. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride. But overall, it's something that I would do again. I've learned so much from it. So it's been, pretty cool.
Yeah. Potentially one of the downs, we'll get on to that, we'll finish with the highs. One of the downs might have been your time with Sky Blue, and kind of being put out on loan when you were with Lyon to Grenoble. How was that time, kind of chopping and changing clubs, a little bit turbulent? How'd you find that?
Yeah, Sky Blue was a very weird experience for me. That was my first professional contract in the US, and I was over there, I think, for 3 weeks, and then I was sent home. It's a very unique league, the way that they do the players' rights over there. You can be chopped and changed at any time. You could be sent across the country to a new team without a say. So it's a very interesting league, that one. And I don't think I was given a fair opportunity, but straight after that, I had the World Cup to focus on. So for me, that wasn't too much of a blow because I had something else to move on to. And I think it just made me stronger. And then after that experience, I was picked up by Lyon, which was actually a great experience. I never expected to play there because they are the best team in the world. So I got to learn from the best goalkeepers in the world. So I think that was a great part of the journey. And although I didn't play, I was having the best training experience I could have had.
Yeah, okay, that's the bit where you kind of take a step back, see what you can learn, gain experience and then use that experience elsewhere. But as you said, you had the World Cup to get ready for, and then that's obviously a great opportunity to kind of showcase yourself and your brand and create opportunities for yourself. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got some opportunities off the back of that.
Yeah, so the World Cup and the Olympics as well are huge events, obviously, and they attract a lot of spectators and a lot of scouts. So that was my opportunity to really show what I could do. And I was very fortunate enough that Olympic Lyon needed a goalkeeper. And I think we played France in that tournament. So that really helped me as well. And then I got picked up by them and went straight there after the World Cup, or it might have been the Olympics, I believe. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then, so obviously at that stage, being around a few clubs, were you just, did you ever suffer, did your confidence ever suffer, or did you think like it's only a matter of time before I find your Bordeaux or your Reading? Bordeaux it was obviously that you kind of kicked on. Were you just thinking, listen, as soon as I find the right club here, I'm going to nail this? Did your confidence remain intact, or did you ever have question that?
No, I think as a goalkeeper, your confidence is something that I think every goalkeeper goes through it. It goes up and down. Any player probably. But for me, that was not a struggle, but it was difficult for me to be consistent in my confidence, especially when you're not playing. But I think as a goalkeeper, you have to be confident and you have to find that within yourself. And yeah, just play with confidence, even if you're not feeling it. If you can show people that you feel confident, that can help.
Yeah, fake it until you make it.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I've seen guys do that in rugby, but I've seen guys do that even socially. Just you create a presence, create an atmosphere, be confident, be outspoken, make yourself kind of, if naturally you wouldn't do it, kind of just make yourself uncomfortable and do it, and then your kind of confidence arrives automatically, or it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you act in a certain way, then you will become the person that you're trying to be.
Yeah, I completely believe that. And I think even the best players in the world go through it, and I think they do it as well.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about then that process. Did you, what about even your approach to performance, or how you kind of manufactured a performance? Because for me, whenever I played, it took me a long time. It took me until I was a lot older than you were before I kind of felt like I started fulfilling my potential. It's because I kind of learned about myself, learned what made me tick. Did you learn anything about yourself through that process before you kind of landed in Bordeaux and started killing it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the moment, I'm going through that here at Reading because I'm not playing. I think as a goalkeeper, it's really hard to come into a new team and establish yourself and find that confidence straight off the bat. But I have learnt even more in this experience in the UK. And I think having not played for, I would say, almost a year now, I think I'm in a position where I can step out into that field at the Olympic Games and still feel confident because I've found that now. And I think it's about kind of knowing yourself, as you said, but having a foundation to work off. So knowing your values, and yeah, that can bring you confidence in itself. And then everything else, performances, obviously in the past can help you as well when you think about them. But just having that foundation to build off, and then, yeah, I think in the game when you make saves, the confidence will come naturally, but being able to step onto the field with that foundation really helps.
How does that compare then whenever you're talking about playing for Reading or Bordeaux or whoever it happens to be? How does that compare to playing for New Zealand? Is New Zealand like your comfort blanket? These are the girls I know. This is how I know how to get a performance, or even just the nature of the games. It's kind of campaign orientated with a huge level of intensity for a short period. How does that change, or how does that differ to how you prepare for league games?
Yeah, I think when I step into the New Zealand team environment, I am completely comfortable, completely confident in where I am. And I think it's a lot easier to perform in that environment than it is to come into a completely new environment where they've already got established players, where you're constantly trying to prove yourself. Whereas in the New Zealand environment, I think that I have proved myself already, and so I don't have that added pressure. But I think coming into this Reading environment, I've learned a lot from this experience, in that I need to approach the game the same way I do with my national team.
Gotcha. I heard you speak there recently about being present and concentrating on your breathing and being mindful. Is that something that you've tapped into specifically? You kind of gain from that, or you get some energy from that, or that's something that you tap into to get the best of yourself, or is that something that's more appropriate for goalkeepers because the nature of being kind of in and out of a game? What's your thoughts on that?
I think mindfulness can benefit everyone, but I think you're right in saying that as a goalkeeper, it's especially important. I think on the field as a goalkeeper, we need to be calm and we need to be focused for 90 minutes or more. And essentially, we're watching the game most of the time, but when we're called into action, we have to be ready to react and perform. So having that mindfulness can kind of just slow everything down and help us prepare for those moments where we really do need to perform.
So you said as a goalkeeper, you got to be calm and focused, but the stereotype of a goalkeeper is shouting and screaming and kind of being involved in the game, even though the ball's not in your half. Is that something is that part of that, being focused and being mindful and being part of the game and staying vocal and almost having an input, even though you're not actively involved?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's definitely two types of goalkeepers. You have the crazy ones, and then you have the calm ones, which I like to put myself into. I think I'm in that group.
You're breaking the mold.
Some people might beg to differ. But I think communication is really important for every goalkeeper, just to help the team in front of you because you can see the whole field. And it's also important for yourself to stay focused on the game. I find that when I don't communicate, it's really easy to switch off.
Is that something that has had an impact then with COVID over the last year? It took us 10 minutes. We had to mention the C word. So it had to come up at some stage. But
yeah, of course.
A big thing for athletes at the minute is kind of coming to terms with that, just different atmosphere, different product, different environment. Do you think goalkeepers, like vocal goalkeepers, who have to keep themselves and bring their own energy, do you think they maybe can struggle with that a little bit less, or that's a little bit of an easier transition? It's an empty stadium, but quite often your goalkeepers are detached from the game anyway and staying involved. Is that something you find easy?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again? Do you mean goalkeepers that are not very vocal, or?
I mean, goalkeepers keep themselves involved and keep, teams talk about, let's bring our own energy. That's actually a bit of a cliche. Teams say there's no one in the stadium today, even if you're away from home somewhere with an empty stadium. Let's bring our own energy. Goalkeepers bring their own energy anyway. Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
definitely. I think goalkeepers can kind of set the scene on a field, and I actually haven't played yet with an empty stadium. I'm not sure how the Olympics will go, but I thrive off the crowd. So it'll be very interesting to see how I would perform in that environment. But I like it when people are in the stadiums. I don't know why, but I get a buzz off it. So it'll be interesting.
That's everybody gets a buzz off stadiums. Assuming you're not, it's probably you probably get less of a buzz off a crowd whenever you're conceding a goal, I would imagine.
Yeah, apart from that side of it.
Apart from that side. Let's get into the game week. So that's what we like to talk about on this show. Tell us what it is, what's different about a game week and what you like to focus on early in a game week, and how the emphasis shifts throughout the week in the run up to game day.
Yeah, so at the start of a game week, I will focus on the opposition, and all my training will be geared around what the opposition do. And for me, it's really important to go and really focus every training session and get the most out of it that I can, so that I feel like I've prepared the best way that I can before I step on the field. And then towards the end of the week, it'll be obviously deloading. It'll be a little bit calmer. We'll have a little bit more time to ourselves to kind of focus and do little bits and pieces that we feel like we need to do. But yeah, it's usually more intense towards the start of the week, and then it will sort of calm down towards the big day.
And how does that align with a particular coaching philosophy? Then would you not react so well if a coach is slightly more of the emphasis on micromanaging and kind of just almost concerned that they hadn't covered something, or trying to do some last minute stuff? Do you think it's important for the athletes, the team, to have their time and start to take the ownership on game day?
Yeah, towards when the game approaches, we kind of tend to have a bit more time to ourselves to kind of use that time as we find the best effective. So the staff will always be there to help us if we need a little bit of extra work or if we need to look at some more analysis. But essentially the 1 or 2 days before the game is more of our time, and we do what we need to do to prepare individually.
And then the leaders take over on the pitch?
Yes, yeah.
So how does, tell us a little bit about communication. Obviously, Keros, we kind of major in team communication and communication between staff and coaches and practitioners. What epitomizes good communication within a team, and then how does that manifest itself in performance?
I think having a clear schedule is really important. I think it just allows us to kind of take our mind off worrying about that side of things. If a team can have a really good structured plan in place, and it makes it so much easier for the athletes. It's one less thing to worry about, and then we can have more control over other parts of the game. So yeah, it's really important. And also just knowing when we can schedule things in with coaches, when we can do a bit of extra training, having all that in front of us is really helpful.
How much of an impact does that make? Because people outside of sports teams think that appears just trivial. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, we can all, look at our phone, look at our WhatsApp, or kind of manage, make a couple of calls. But how important is that to have everybody, to make communication really smooth? How much of an impact does that make in performance?
It definitely has a huge impact. It's definitely underestimated, but I've seen teams where something's a little bit off in the schedule, or they schedule in a meeting last minute, and it really kind of changes the mood of the whole environment. I think players can get really frustrated when the communication between the coaches and the players is not streamlined or it's not efficient. And it's almost a respect thing as well. I think when coaches communicate clearly and effectively with the players, and it's showing that they are respected. So when communication isn't there, then players don't feel respected, players get frustrated, and kind of sets a bad vibe in the camp.
Yeah, is there an accountability piece as well? Is there, if staff are really professional with communication and really clear, and everything runs well, then they're handing over and they're saying, right, well, there's an accountability here. We've given you everything you can do. You should have all the information. How does that accountability piece work? Are players more accountable for their performance then?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So I think we always talk about double standards. So what the coaches and staff expect of us, we expect from them as well. And it's not always the case. But when it is, I think teams perform a lot better.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Erin, what's next then for you? You said you haven't, things haven't gone exactly according to plan with Reading. What's next for you? What does it look like? Obviously, with how turbulent things are with COVID, there's a bit of uncertainty. But what way do you see the next 6 months in the run up to the Olympics looking like? Yeah,
so we have a camp coming up in May before the Olympics back in New Zealand. So we haven't played together, my national team, for a year. So stepping onto that field at the Olympics is going to be very interesting. Normally in an Olympic build-up, we'll be away every couple of months playing international games, playing together. So yeah, it'll definitely be a different Olympics, and it'll be tough. But hopefully this camp in May can help us prepare as best as we can before we head to Tokyo. So for me, my focus now is just getting back to New Zealand, training as well as I can, hopefully getting a couple of games against Australia, and then we'll head to Tokyo as a team, which will be really exciting.
Are you as excited about the Olympics as you would have been in the past, or is it not quite the same product, or will it not be quite the same experience potentially?
There's definitely a bit of uncertainty, and we're not too sure how it's going to pan out. And there's still some doubts over it, to be honest, about how things are going to go with vaccines and everything. So it's not quite the same as the last Olympics, but I'm sure Tokyo will still put on an amazing games. And yeah, I think it'll be a great experience nevertheless.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, listen, good luck with it. Good luck with Reading in the run up to that camp in May, and then good luck going ahead from that camp and kicking on to the Olympics. We'll be watching on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Erin.